and we are hoping to get much more from the panelists here. It will be brief, but also to the point. These are people who have done amazing work for the youth. We have those who've done a lot of work as young people as well on the panel here, especially as farmers as well. There's one who refers to himself and refer to him as the farmer in a suit. So we will find out more from as we start the discussion. Welcome. So probably we can start off by just introducing yourselves and just telling us one sentence of what you do, and then we get into the discussions.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lynette Mwende. I'm here in the capacity of the founder of Ujana Afrika, which is a non-profit organization that has been championing TVET. For those who know, TVET is Technical and Vocational Education and Training, which basically means skills development among the youth. I'm a public policy practitioner and currently consulting at the World Bank Education Global Practice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victor Mugo. I am a farmer, and I'm very proud of it. And in addition to farming, I am also the regional coordinator for the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, which is a network of young farmers who are engaged in agriculture. But you do realize that climate change is part and parcel of us. And so our work is really to help young people transition into climate smart agriculture. And by that, we want to make agriculture more profitable and sustainable. And if agriculture is more profitable and sustainable, then the youth have no problem getting into it, and so that's what really I do.
Good morning. I'm Arnold Ambei Milimu. I'm the programs officer for the Catholic Justice and Peace Commission, the Catholic Diocese of Kakamega. We do a lot, but specifically concerning this particular session, we are implementing environmental programs across Vihiga and Kakamega counties, with focus mainly on conservation efforts for the Kakamega and Kibiri forests, rehabilitation of the Maragoli Hills, and also involvement of youth through schools and institutions in environmental initiatives. So that is why I'm here. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Joyce Gitau. I am a farmer and I work with World Vision. I support youth projects in World Vision Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you for your introductions, and we'll jump in because of time as well. Lynette, I was listening to one of your interviews somewhere, and there's something that caught my ears. It was demand-driven skills for TVET. Now let us know, for the young people in the room, TVET in agriculture, in the green economy. Tell us more about it. How can the young people tap into this? And what opportunities are there? And what should the youth do?
For somebody who's so passionate about skills development among the youth, I'm not sure how much time I have to answer that. So I'll try and make that very brief. But the green economy, as we've all been discussing this morning, really I look at it in the context of sustainable development. And just to cut it down, how can the youth be absorbed in the green economy? That's why I look at it. But my thinking starts from, are the youth even ready for the green economy? Is it possible to have this green growth? Well, as you mentioned, I'm very passionate about skills. And I look at the mismatch of the skills that academia right now has imparted in the youth with what the industry requires. When you look at the green economy, that is the future of work. That is where we are all moving towards: renewable energy, climate change, issues and policies. But are we then training the young people to absorb those spaces in the green economy? That's where my argument comes from. So as a policy practitioner, one of the things that I continue to urge and lobby for at Ujana Afrika is the reskilling agenda. We need to reskill the young people in these demand-driven skills. And when I say demand-driven, it means we give the young people skills that are needed in the industry. The green economy needs skilled labor force. It needs young people who understand what renewable energy means, how the young people can be able to work in solar farms, doing basically even wind power production. Those are the kind of things that the young people need to be engaged in. So when I talk about demand-driven skills, then how can the government, using the policy instruments, have more funded training programs for the young people to learn, to be knowledgeable about green economy and to be skilled? And when I say skilled, practical and relevant skills. You're always told as young people, always have an updated CV. But sometimes our CVs are just theoretical. We need to move to a place where I say, I'm competent in renewable energy. I'm competent in climate change issues. That's how the young people will get jobs in green economy. That's how even farming will become sustainable, will move towards production that is not subsistence, and we move to higher scales. So for me, I would say we need to start from the point of training our young people for the skills in the green economy. Now, in terms of opportunities, the last question, we know there are many programs. I think our Madam Cass has highlighted many programs. The young people need to be absorbed. So one of the things we believe is we need to create more awareness about these programs. Just the other day, we saw KCIC sign an MOU that has an agribiz program. How many young people know about that? So we need to keep creating awareness and allowing young people to get these opportunities. Thank you.
Just back to you again, and you've mentioned climate smart agriculture, you've mentioned renewable energy. What are these other skills? Isem vile uli isem. How is it? We're talking to the young people who want to understand these things. Okay. What is this? Is climate smart agriculture setting up nurseries for trees, for planting? What are these skills? Is it plumbing? Is it electrician? What are these skills that probably they should start thinking about?
So right now, when we look at the future of work, which is a big ongoing conversation, there are 6 key skills that young people must have, both technical and soft skills. I don't believe you must be, you have to have multi-skills. That's my belief. Right now, you can't be hired just because you have one skill. So when you start from innovation and creativity, that cuts across the green economy sectors. All these 6 strategic pillars that we've mentioned, from climate change, renewable energy, those need technical skills, the hard skills for that. Number 2, you need problem-solving, critical thinking skills. I know we don't learn them in school, but these are skills that we must harness ourselves, whether you self-teach yourself, but these are skills that you need to have as a young person right now. I could go on and on, but one of the key skills that I know that is being taught in TVET, these are technical schools, is value addition skills. Right now, I come from Kitui County, and we have so many mangoes sometimes in season, right? I like mangoes. But after the season, they get just wasted. If I'm a young person who has no job, I think I can start learning on value addition. How then can I move from mangoes, just the fruit, to making mango juice? We have avocados. How can I make avocado oil? These are things that are so expensive right now, and you can earn great livelihoods from having value addition skills. And for, the male, I know you like to be more hands-on. We have this skill called agriculture machinery. You have so many machines that people are importing, but they have no operators. These are the kind of skills I would want young people to start looking at. I don't know, sometimes I can be radical and say, we don't need degrees anymore. And I know that conversation is for another day. But yeah, get a certificate. You don't even need to be in school for 4 years to get a skill in agriculture machinery. So those are the things that I keep trying to preach to the young people.
And actually, that's very good. And for all those who are here, those who are watching us live, that is the last statement you've made is very important. It's not that we do not want the degrees, but even during the COVID pandemic now, you will not be in a position to give out your degree. Somebody will simply ask you, what can you do?
That's it. Someone just wants to know, how can you apply yourself? So go out there, get a certificate. Don't be afraid to go to NITA. You don't need to go to these prestigious schools to get a skill. Get it online. Do what you need to do to get a skill. Thank you very much.
Very interesting. Now we're going to the next, our guest and our speaker. He's very passionate. He's a fellow farmer as well. He's in livestock. But Victor, allow me to congratulate you for the 35 out of 35. I hope I was a good judge. And congratulations. Tell us more about yourself and tell us what is this thing that young people are missing out?
Okay, so just a little introduction about myself and what I do. So I studied actuarial science at the University of Nairobi, and for 4 years I was laboring every day doing complex mathematics. Just living out, looking for my internship, I walked through Upper Hill into 40 offices with my CV, giving every organization my CV, telling them this is what I do. I have studied actuarial science, and I was promised that once I study a good degree, if I worked hard, if I got a good degree, then I would get a good job. So I started thinking, what can I do with what I have? And so that led me to stop thinking about financial services. So I was in insurance, banking, investment funds, pension funds. So I started thinking about what I could do myself. And so I got this internship at AGRA, the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. And then my perception about agriculture really completely transformed. And this is what I know, that if agriculture is done right, if agriculture is done well, then there is so much profit in it. And so that was really like my eureka moment. That's what completely transformed me. And from that, then I started thinking, what can I do with this? It's been a stiff and tough journey, because also I just got into a sector where I did not have the skills for, and that's why I appreciate when she says that we need to get skills, we need to get mentors, we need to be capacity built, because it took me 4 years before I could make profit. So there was so much investment in time, investment in all this, and it took me 4 years before I could make my profit. But even with that, what I have learned is, as young people, there are opportunities out there. And sometimes we tend to constrict ourselves to what we think is possible. But we've gotten into an era where we are unlimited. We should not be looking at what has been done before, but what we can do. For example, my classmates right now, some of them are still tamarking, looking for jobs in actuarial science. I am working in the agricultural sector and making a decent living out of it. And so I tend to think that even this discussion about the green economy is really important, and that you are here is also quite important, that you are getting this information, that you are expanding your minds about the possibilities that there are, and with that, then we are able to transform this country and even transform ourselves.
You know, Victor, I go through your profile, and there's something that really always makes me wonder whether we are going to have young people adopting this. And this is the fact that you move from mathematics to milk. Let me put it from mathematics to milk. What do young people want? We have heard world over, and more importantly in our country, that young people want money to start these activities. Do you think that's right? Now you can apply your actuarial science there.
It is, I think, common knowledge that everyone wants a decent lives for themselves, for their families, and even for their future. I don't think there's anyone who would be not impressed by living a good life. I think poverty is dirty. Poverty is demeaning, and no one. We couldn't even wish poverty even on our worst enemy. Even your worst enemy will want them to live in poverty, because it is dehumanizing and it's demeaning. The challenge right now is the opportunities that are there tend to place young people to live worse lives than even their parents. For example, during our parents' time, you're just required to have a degree, and then everything else was sorted out. But right now, with what we have right now, then we need to work even extra hard so that we can be able to make a living out of it. So I would say that as young people, we want a decent livelihood. But then the next should be, how do we get there as young people? And I think that's why, coming back to this discussion about the green economy. So there's a way things have been done for a long time. Farmers have been personified to be, of course, fast, old. We did a survey in one of the universities, I'll not name which one, and then we asked them to paint or draw the first thing that comes to their mind once the word agriculture is mentioned. And so what they drew was, first, a very old man, showing that agriculture is not for the youth, and again, agriculture is not for women, and especially young women. Then the other thing that they drew was the old man was standing next to a grass-thatched hut, which is, of course, a symbol of poverty. That once you get into agriculture, you are poor, and then because of that, even your generations, even continuing, will be poor. The other thing that they drew was the old man was holding a garden hoe, a djembe. Which of course shows that there's very little space for innovation, technological advancement, and digitalization of agriculture. And then the last thing that they drew was the scorching sun, showing that agriculture is backbreaking, is manual, is difficult. And I think that is the perception that has encroached most of us. And that's why it's difficult for people such as myself and, for example, Noah, to go and convince people that I am a farmer, and they think, how in the first place? But agriculture done right, it has the potential to transform the young people, for people to get decent jobs. And I'm not just saying give jobs to get jobs, but decent jobs with resilient livelihoods. And then we can be able to transform this country as young people.
Thank you. We will come back to that, and especially the fact that you mentioned that you went to 40 offices. So we'll come back to that. Ambei, I hear there's this project. I've not seen it. And there's this project that you're doing in Kakamega County about trees. And I don't know if it was a coincidence that you are sitting next to Climate Smart. Tell us more about this, and especially the fact that from a religious perspective, why are you coming in to do this instead of just remaining in faith-based?
Thank you. As you have put it, we are into the environmental sector with the focus really on conservation and preservation of the environment, which sometimes may be assumed not to be of commercial value. When we come to green economy, most people may focus on agriculture, production of crops and whatnot. But from experience so far, I would want to confirm that equally, conservation is equally a commercially rewarding venture. So from a faith perspective, yes, the Catholic Church is quite strong on environmental conservation. We even have an encyclical which was produced by the Pope in 2015, Laudato Si, which is on care of our common home, which really calls on us to take care of this common home because really we don't have anywhere else to go. So it's a matter of faith, but it's also a matter of necessity. We are even guided in Genesis that we were given this garden to keep and tend. So as a matter of expressing your faith, you are called upon really to take care of the environment, because by taking care of the environment, then you are taking care of so many other issues that we face, including hunger, which really robs us of dignity, including corruption and many other issues, conflict, as people fight over water. We are following the argument in Ethiopia, simply over the waters of River Nile. This is an environmental issue. If we can take care of the environment, there's enough for all of us to share. There's enough rain for all of us to produce food. There's enough for all of us to live in dignity. So that is our perspective in why we are taking up this. But equally, again, as I've said, from our experience, apart from the faith and conviction, there's also a commercial reward. I remember last year we were trying to pilot that program. We piloted in 25 schools, and we were looking for gravelia seedlings to plant across these schools. So calling people and asking around nurseries for these seedlings, you would get commitments of 250 seedlings, 100 seedlings, and we were going in big. We wanted up to 5,000. So we realized, hey, there's a gap here. And we had to go from Kakamega all the way to Luanda to find an adequate number of seedlings from one supplier. And that is even the reason why now we sat down and thought, hey, then we could do a nursery and ensure. So a single tree goes for 10 shillings for the exotic ones, Gravelia, Cypress. The more indigenous ones go even for up to 700, depending on their size. So we think it's a worthy venture. If you're not doing it out of conviction and faith, then we also believe commercially you could be making a shilling while taking care of the environment. So that is all we are all about, and that is what we're encouraging, really.
Yeah, and I'll just refer to Victor again. During the top 35 or the 35, I asked him one question. I asked him, why are you in policy and not doing it on the farm? And just as what you've said, he actually, at that time he was probably in panic mode, he can't remember. But he said that not all of us have to go to the farm. So just back to what you've said, you don't have to plant, to have a nursery because you want to plant them. You can actually do it and sell. Now, there's something that you've said, though I had made a vow with my tongue not to mention about corruption and government, but here I'm sitting with some radicals in the industry. What do you think we as a country, especially government, is doing enough in terms of environmental change and focus on looking at climate change? Do you think we're doing enough? Probably we can come back to you after that. Joyce, you are a friend to the farmers, you are a farmer, and there's something that you've done so well, that is value chain development in terms of market. Tell us more about this, and the young people in the room. Yesterday we had a lady called Joreen who's doing peanut butter as well as honey. Tell us more about what you're doing and how the youth can tap into this.
Thank you. I was even thinking of shifting the idea from farming to something else. I look at green economy in terms of urban youth, where we're looking at recycling of waste. If today you walk to Korogosho, to Kariobangi, to Mukuru, there's garbage all over. There is water running all over. There is all these things that all of us in this room will not want to step in. I come from a community where we say, if you want to do something, do it and do it well, or you leave it. And World Vision looks at green economy and youth in two categories, the youth in the rural and the youth in the urban. I am good in both, but I'm good in the youth with the urban. And this is what we're doing. What is it that youth in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Kilifi can do out of their own initiatives, their own ideas? I'm fortunate to be part of the Enable program that the CAS was talking about. And the idea has to come from the young person. And one of the things that we have done very well is making sunglasses out of wood for export, not for the Kenyan market. And we've gone to Bose, we've gone to Optica, we've gone to all these big retailers selling sunglasses and glasses. And they're all taking them, but they're not selling them in Kenya. Why? Because maybe the product is so good, but who made it? The youth from Kariobangi. Out of what? Wood. And this wood is not wood cut from a tree. It is the waste that the team sales are throwing on their yards. Any other person is cutting. We also have another project in Samburu where we were talking of making straws out of bamboos. And these straws is not that you cut the bamboo, you cut the leaf and you make it into a good straw. And a young person who's just grazing in the fields will just go and cut a branch and will make their own straws. And out of it, we can market. I say I never went to school to market. I did a medical course and I'm here by mistake. But this is why I find passion. And the marketing part is something that is inborn. When this young person does the honey, out here we have a project we are showcasing called Regreening Afrika. And all of them are young people who are showcasing the seedlings, they are grafting, the mangoes, the apples. And instead of going to sell those things, like Mwende said, there are a lot of mangoes in the market, there are a lot of everything out there. how can they dry those mangoes and sell them for the you know, the up market, the export? And I'm very, very biased in how I look at the market and the youth in the green economy, in the sense that we can go there and look for rice husks, which is a waste, and make briquettes. And these briquettes are dirty, but we can package them and sell them in Carrefour, a supermarket that everybody else would go to buy. And these are smokeless charcoal. And instead of that, we have saved a tree, in what he was talking about. And these are initiatives that many other organizations are coming up with, but that is what I champion as Joyce. Thank you.
Joyce, just a question. You say that you did not study what you're doing right now.
Yes.
Do you think it's something that, as Lynette said, is something that the youth can also think about doing? You know, career change is always shocking. I also did not study agriculture. I've never gone to an agriculture class. So as we'll come back to you on that. Lynette, I had to reduce the volume when I was listening to your interview, because you came out shouting and fighting, and you allowed that the person who was interviewing you, and you came out straight and said, stop lying to young people. These suits, these papers will work, they will work, but these young people have to learn different things. I just want you for us to go back to that statement, demand-driven skills. Where can these young people get these skills? And what is their role in getting these skills? You know, most of the time, yesterday we were talking about what the youth can also do. How can the youth in this room, those watching us, be able to tap into this and go out and get this?
Yeah, so I've always felt that it's not really an issue of lying, but the young people go to school with the belief there's a job in 4 years, right? You believe, but that's not guaranteed. So my thinking right now is, don't pursue this course if you're not sure there's a job at the end of it. I've also done a very different course to what I practice. 10 years ago, I went and did aeronautical engineering, and I've never practiced it. Literally, after I got my degree, I put it aside because that job was not available in the market after I graduated. So that's where my thinking is from. Why are young people in school, and then after 4 years, there's no return in that investment? Education is not cheap. So my thinking right now is we have to pursue training programs that have jobs, and that's how the future of work looks like. We know how it looks like. We know it looks like the green economy. We know it has a lot of artificial intelligence, robotics, technology. So those are the things I always urge the young people to pursue. So now from the policy perspective, where I sit in education, you look at the education reforms that have been done recently. You see the new curriculum that has been developed in TVET, and that's why I keep urging young people to pursue TVET, because there's now a curriculum that focuses on practical learning, because my theory is have a practical and relevant skill that you can apply. And that's why I keep saying I'm now with agriculture and the green economy. We have courses in TVET called agriculture machinery, which is a discipline on its own. So you go to a technical training institution and you can do either a certificate course in it or a diploma. After 3 years, you get that. Or you can do the short course programs, and that's the new curriculum. What it's called is competency-based education and training, CBET. So you're allowed to even do a program for 6 months or less, and you get a skill that you can go and apply. So just to paint a practical picture, there are people out there who do artisan and craft courses, right? And we call them juakali, the fundis, the welders, the plumbers. But guess what? At the end of the day, they take home a living. They take home either 1,000 or 500 shillings. So ask yourself, with what you've done, what do you take home? So that's my thinking. Do a certificate, get a small skill that will allow you to earn a source of income.
Thank you. A while back, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, I was really looking at pursuing a certain course, which I thought would really help me in running my business. And that course was around $2,000 from Harvard. A few weeks ago, that course was actually subsidized to $39. And then I asked myself, I would have wasted a lot of money. That's when I searched around and I saw, and that's what really caught my eye when I saw you as one of the panelists. Thank you for that. We will come back to you as just to tell the youth what should they actually do. Victor, you visited 40 offices. What was the experience, and what did this teach you that the young people in the room, those watching us, can be able to take home?
So I was armed with an internship letter from the University of Nairobi, and then I thought I had studied one of the best courses in Kenya. And then I went to Upper Hill and then wrote down 40 organizations that I wanted to go to, or where I saw myself being placed in, or where I would want to go to. And then I went office to office, delivering all those letters, where I could even trying to meet the HR, tell them who I am and all that. And I did that for a long time. Eventually, I got to meet, I got to CBA then, and then I saw where all those papers were going to. So all the papers that they receive, I think, around 300 applications every day. So all those are just brought in, put in a stack, and then they're dropped down into somewhere, and then they're taken for recycling, and then those papers are used for recycling. So when I got there, and so because I worked there for like 3 months or so, that's when I saw, I think, the desperation that we as young people go through. As she said, we go into universities with the idea that we'll get a job immediately after that. But in this economy and this day and time, sadly, that is not guaranteed. And then the question should be, what should we do more as young people? I tend to think that there's grit, doing more than you're supposed to. Like, if you are supposed to just be a farmer, be a farmer and be very good at it, such that there's no other farmer who's as good as you. If it's even just as a Juakali artisan, be as good as you can. And I think those levels get you a step further within the value chain and a step higher within the value chain. When I started farming, we were told about French beans. And so I was told, hey, French beans are very good, and then they're very profitable. And then the guys who brought us the seeds left. And so once they left, then we did not have a market. So these French beans eventually became real beans, like beans themselves. They were supposed to go for the export market, but now we even fed them to cows and that. So but those lessons really helped me think further. What next can I do? And then we started cows, a dairy farm, and then after that, then there was a disease that wiped out the cows again. Then I still continued doing that. Now I ventured more into dairy farming, and then got into beans, but now they call them high iron beans. And so I think those just lessons that we get take us a next step forward. And if we continue to be patient, if we continue to persevere, then I think we can be able to reap the benefits eventually.
Yeah. So again, you'll just tell us more about the bean story, but also just for those who are practicing agriculture, in terms of what those the beans high in iron are, and what the young people can also diversify from what they do. Ambei, what is the role of government? Has government failed in sensitizing us? We see a lot of politics, a lot of corruption, and many people talking about other things, especially in government, and not just simply the environment. What do you think the government should do to be able to support what you do, as well as encourage other young people to be able to do the same?
Okay, I think the question itself gives quite a direction on where we are. First, we don't see environment as a priority. It is unfortunate, but to some extent, environment is a political issue, and that in itself makes work very difficult. As I told you, we are cooperating with a number of entities on that side, Kakamega County and others, Vihiga, Kenya Forest Service, and there's currently an ongoing push to try and fence off Kakamega Forest, simply because the level of exploitation has become unsustainable. But you can imagine, after all consultation and whatnot, and it is agreed that this forest needs to be fenced off, it took a politician only 5 minutes to unravel everything and say this forest is ours, and we must be able to use it the way we want it. For political expediency, of course, apart the bonga points. So it is a big challenge because taking care of the environment should not be an option. It is actually a necessity. It is like when you wake up, how many people wake up and you are thinking of how you'll breathe, how you'll go about breathing. Do you wake up and say, today I'll take 1,000 breaths inside and outside? It's like every step you take that day, you are breathing. It's what you do to survive. So taking care of the environment should just come naturally to all of us. And the purpose why I think youth should take it up more is because I think we have longer to live on this earth. So we have, basically, that is the rule of nature, sivyo? Tutaishi kwa muda mrefu zaidi kuliko wazee, sivyo? So if the environment is messed up, we have a longer time to live with the impact of a messed up environment. So I think I'm not one of those people who keep saying serikali saidia. I try to do what I can, but it is true there are challenges. We have heard of government launching programs. We had a 1.8 billion tree planting program, but there are no corresponding, support mechanisms to ensure such a project is realized. You charge that responsibility to the KFS or KFree, and I'll tell you for free, you go to any of the stations, you won't even get 1,000 trees. So where are these 1.8 billion trees coming from? And that there is the opportunity now we youth have, so that we can try and come up with these nurseries, so that we can feed the market. We can feed the market, we can make sure as we make the coin, we are contributing to but indeed, there's a challenge. There's a challenge at the government level. Corruption is hitting hard. Public land is being grabbed. We have seen public spaces, natural spaces, ecosystem being disrupted by the who is who. And you feel like sometimes your hands are tied, but as youth, I feel we are able to change the tide if we come together and do little bits all over, wherever we are.
Thank you. And we'll just ask you, with your parting shots, as we finalize, what is this one thing that you'd like to address to government? Joyce, you did not study what you're doing. Is that considered, long time I think it used to be considered as a failure? Yes, by all of us. What should the youth pick from here now? They've been looking for a job, they've visited 40 or now probably even 46 offices like Victor. What should they do now, from today, that next year when you're having the same conference, you would be happy and say, wow, you did this, you took this change, what would you advise them?
I always tell, I think we are all youth, even the ones who are seated here. I always tell young people that if time was pushed behind, I would not go to campus, because somehow I got the knowledge that I needed, like the soft skills and the exposure and everything. But I see like if those 4 years, if I had ventured in something that I really love and I do now better, I would be very far. One thing I would advise young people to do is I always tell people to have that small meeting with yourself and identify what is your inner strength. What is it that I can do best? Who am I and what defines who I am now? If you find the answers to those questions, then you know where you are called to be. You're either called to be in the agriculture, you're very patient, you can wait for 3 months. You're either called into marketing, you can go and get those watermelons and sell them at ease. You're either called in the transport sector, getting all those things from the farm to Marikiti market. You're either called in the recycling business, you're called in the partnership agenda where you can market and form partnership within organizations and companies. If you find your niche, go for it. And that niche is what Mwende was trying to say. It doesn't need a campus degree or a certificate. You just need skills. And those skills, they are available now on your phone, in your laptop, at home, in NITA, anywhere. You can get those skills as short as 3 months, as short as 6 months, as short as 12 months, and keep practicing. Keep practicing what you think you're good at. Because practice will make you a good person. I know if all young people find a gap that they can fill, that niche I'm talking about, all of us will find a race to run with. Your own strip to run with. If you're good with poultry, run with poultry. If you're good with dairy farming, run with it. Don't envy the other person, because one thing young people do again is copycat. You heard that Victor's dairy farm is doing very well. You want to be Victor. You can never be Victor. Go and be who you are. Go and run with what you think you can run with. Like Madam Ka said, like those value chains in our counties may come from Narok County, and our county, we know we are good with livestock. Right now I have livestock in my own place, and those livestock can never be the dairy farm that Victor has. So you run with what you can run with. Identify your niche and develop it. And don't say there is no money, because I always tell young people that money is not the problem. Our thinking is the problem. Because the innovations that we have seen, in different countries, they come from people in their own backyard, in their own garage, where they don't need to rent. They just need to approach people and share ideas, and they develop their own initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know Mwende, Lynette wants to take the mic, and we'll come back to you, Lynette. So for what we're hearing as the panelists are discussing is basic things. I like what you've said. You need to meet with yourself. You have to have a meeting with yourself. And for sure, I've been farming for 14 years. But of late, I told myself, I'm not the most successful farmer. What can I do in this space, in the green economy space? And I said, probably I can continue engaging with other people, visiting farmers, and sharing what I'm visiting farmers, what I'm learning, and sharing out with other farmers. And hence the birth of a farmers' media. Lynette, you've said you have some objections, but also have some additions.
Yeah, just I think my objection was when we were talking about government's role, and there's something I've always wanted to say. It might sound a bit, how can I say, argumentative, but the point here is the government really is trying to change, from where I sit as a policy practitioner in education, not any other sector. But if the government has put together a new curriculum, right? It's talking about competency-based education. It's basically trying to change what has been there for the longest time to move towards skills development among the young people. And they're saying now you have a curriculum and you can go to a technical training institution to study something that will give you a skill. And you can study from 6 months to 3 years in a diploma. So my question is, why is it so hard for us to change our mindsets and we still want these white-collar jobs? With green economy, we must be prepared to be more hands-on, blue-collar jobs, kind of oriented with dairy farming, with even horticulture, kuku kienyeji production, which are the 3 agriculture tenants we have at Ujana, Afrika. Why are the young people still fighting this? Because I don't understand. You have an opportunity to go to a TVET institution and learn agriculture machinery. That will be able to let you have a hard skill to go into production or even value addition. Why are we still not doing that? Why are we still going to the universities and getting theoretical degrees that we can't apply ourselves in? It's actually a question.
I think that's a very interesting point. at some point I got some young people coming to my farm for internship, and there's a guy who came for internship was dressed in a suit at the farm, and I did not know what to say. I actually told him, "Can you come back tomorrow with the right gear for the farm?" And the others came and they had never seen a knapsack, after 4 years. So I think it's just changing our mindset and accepting change.
And that's one of the 6 skills I was talking about, growth in mindset, and that would be my parting shot. Our mindsets really need to change towards all this.
And there's a very interesting book, less than 100 pages. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? Then there's another one, the follow-up. It's called Out of the Maze. Those are 2 very interesting books. As your parting shot, Victor, finance equals success, truth or myth? For young people, finance equals success, truth or myth?
Finance.
Clarify, pesa mfukoni equals success.
As I said, I think everyone wants a good life for themselves. We cannot lie to ourselves. And I sometimes abhor the fact that we are told, you go and do this, you will get fulfillment and all that. But fulfillment without money, fulfillment does not pay bills. True or false? Yeah, so we all require all this. And I think the best thing about the green economy is that it kind of changes the way things have been done. So we've had a system where we create very little jobs, and those jobs destroy our environment. And so the green economy is bringing a factor where we get decent jobs, we expand the jobs that we have, and at the same time, we can continue to conserve our environment. And so these have even become more sustainable jobs. And so we have a recurring cycle of benefits towards people, towards our livelihoods, and towards the environment. And we are here to stay. We are not moving from Earth, even if there's water that has been discovered in Mars. The Earth is our place to stay, and so we need to conserve it. And that's why I'm really passionate about climate smart agriculture, because at the same time, you get extra productivity, you are able to build your resilience towards climate shocks, but also you are able to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that we release. So money is really important, and I do not want anyone to come out of here thinking that and with that notion that, hey, you go do your thing, you will get fulfillment, one day everything will pay back. I want us to, I think, and that is the general direction that we will be, even as we speak about the employment, that we get decent jobs, and these jobs really give us resilient livelihoods, and at the same time, we are able to conserve the environment, and we are able to get fulfillment from all this.
Thank you, and thank you, Victor, for continuing fighting for farmers, and especially changing the image of the African farmer. Ambei, your parting shot.
One, I did not start with my personal story because I think we share these personal stories. Sivo, your struggle as a Kenyan youth is most probably, 90% probability is my struggle. So we share these struggles, and whatever it is we are doing is a continuation of a struggle. We are not yet there. We cannot say tumefika mahali ambapo tulikuwa tunataka kufika, but it's a continuation of a struggle, and if there's anything I'm well experienced in, is the art of struggle. So we'll keep going. I'll just say, from where I come from in Western, we say the pangs of hunger are more forgiving while you're seated under a tree. Ukiumwa na njaa na umekaa kwenye kivuli, it's not the same thing kuumwa na njaa ukiwa kwenye unajua ukichomwa na jua. It is the reality. So I'm just using that to really invite all of us as youth to give environmental initiatives a chance, both as a matter of personal responsibility and as an opportunity in entrepreneurship, really. It is one of the least regulated sectors in terms of investment. try investing in a restaurant or a bar, and then, or even in bottling water, and then go and try investing in a tree nursery, which requires basically your hands and a 10 by 1 meter piece of land and seeds harvested from trees, even in your compound. You will find that it is one of the least regulated. So you can experiment. You lose nothing by experimenting. Try it out. You can use recycled milk packets and such for packaging, and see where it takes us. As my brother put it, let's see where it takes us. Because when you do nothing, then that is definitely a failure. So it's a series of trials, but I invite you to try to give environmental intervention a chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joyce, your parting shot.
I know there's a young person seated here who's saying, I am born in Korogosho, I'm born in the slums, and I don't know, we don't have a farm. And all these people are talking about farming and agriculture, and where do I farm? There's nowadays something we call kitchen garden, and you can farm on top of your roof and have vegetables. There's no sack farming. So don't give yourself an excuse that you don't have farms, you don't have land. The last thing I want to say, if you think, like he said, that all these things are expensive, then sit down and wait, and we see where we are going to eat from. The last thing, vijana mtaani wanasema kwamba kazi kwa vijana, pesa kwa nani? Hey. Let us change the story. Pesa, I always say think about money, dream about money in your heart, and then have money in your pocket, but have it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to the panelists. And as we wind up, as we prepare for a few questions, just a few take-home points that we have got here. Meeting with yourself is very important. Change your mindset. And as I was discussing with some young people yesterday, don't get the pressure of the other youth. Do not get that pressure. Some of them are just lying to you. Do it, believe in yourself, and package yourself, brand yourself very well. These days, there are no more offices, so make sure that you're meeting people on social media, brand yourself. When you call somebody and you're asking for a favor, or you're asking for a job, or you're asking for a tender, or whatever you're asking for, the first place we go to is your social media pages. We want to see what you're asking, what you're saying you're going to do. Is it what you believe in, or you're just saying it? And with that, we'll open for a few questions. And then, again, thank you very much, my panelists, for what you have said to the young people. Remember to meet them in their offices, that online offices. Follow them, ask them questions. These days, you can actually go to a CEO of any organization on social media and pitch for yourself. There are no more two minutes elevator pitches anymore. It's you go there and you ask. Again, for all of you, congratulations for what you're doing, Victor. A good example. Victor is proud and says, I am a farmer in a suit. Thank you very much. Now we open for questions. Any questions? We have a young lady here. Please raise your hand.
Hello, you can hear me, yeah? My name is Lurit Yugusuk. I am a youth leader at One Campaign.
Kindly speak a bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'd like to disagree with one thing that has come from the panel. Please feel free to rebut me, particularly from Lynette, on the point that do not pursue a course when you aren't sure about an opportunity at the end of it all. I'm sorry, allow me to remove my mask so that I can articulate better. Sincerely, this particular point is not exactly the way to go because we strip off innovation. Do you understand? The reason as to why we pursue courses is to actually learn and create. The fact that there's no opportunity at the end of the day does not mean that I cannot go out there and create the opportunity, despite the fact that my course does not have so many opportunities. I'll give an example. If I'm pursuing law, okay, and I'm passionate about, let's say, sports, okay, I can integrate sports and law together, create sports law, and by the fact that I've created sports law, I can go and defend all the other all the other athletes in the country and bring them on board. Create a value chain from the beginning to the end, from the lawyers to the players to the businesses and all those particular things. And at the end of it all, I won't be changing Kenya alone, I'll be changing Africa as well. Because there are probably other people with the same idea. So I'm just giving like my opinion on that particular thing. And then I prefer, maybe we could say, do not pursue what does not align with your passion, instead of do not pursue something that does not give you an opportunity at the end of the day. Because what you need is knowledge. And that's why we go to school. So maybe we can even push for the government to create the practicality levels in the education system, because that's what's lacking. The degree is valid, you understand? But it's only theoretical, and that is why it is not taking people as far as they're supposed to. But the minute it's practical, then we're able to create more opportunities. And the issue on the niche, right? I'd like to understand, how do you find your niche if you do not go through these experiences that call you out and tell you this is not your niche? Does it mean that you've wasted those years? Because sometimes we can say, I would go back and not do it, but maybe you went through that to get to where you are. Thank you.
Hapo ninasikia inasemekana to disagree to agree. Another question, the gentleman there, and then behind there, next, yes.
Hello, is it working? Hello. Okay, I am Clement from Kericho, and I have maybe a bunch of concerns or a bunch of may I know. Let us assume we are targeting or we are talking to a youth whereby is going to start agricultural farming, so to say, or someone who is going to start from scratch. How can you address the uses of, for example, you cannot compare a staple farmer and a youth is going to start agriculture farming. How can you address the issue of outdated technology? Because as a startup farmer, or a farmer who is starting his work, I don't have the current tools. I don't have the current technology. Maybe I can go and borrow from a friend or even inherit it from someone else. How can you go about that one? Talk for example, things to do with officers, extension officers coming from maybe government or any other places. Where can a young youth, a young farmer who started its farming today acquire these services, yet he knows no one, maybe Ukochu on top? And then how can you address things also like the changes on the climate? A young farmer cannot even predict what will happen next month, what will happen maybe next year. Maybe that farmer also wants to do things to do with horticulture, and then he has got no knowledge. Maybe to challenge our sister there, he told her something like, no need to pursue or to go to college, so as to come and start what? Farming. Why don't we go to college, then acquire this knowledge on horticulture, then we come back and what? Try doing it here at home. Maybe that's enough. Thank you.
Probably we can have answers to the panel can respond, and then proceed with probably 3 more questions.
So I think I'll just start with Elle. I didn't get the whole name right, Elle. So I think we're actually speaking the same. We were just saying it when you were talking, just in different ways. For me, I have a very different kind of view that may lead to the same answer. My view is, I started my education journey in 2008, guys. I went to China's SA to do my engineering degree through a scholarship. And I've never been able to apply myself using that. The issue here is application. It's not doing the degree. So when you look at 2008 until 2020, we're looking at 12 years down the line. And today is when I am actually pursuing the whole reskilling agenda through Ujana Afrika and in the agriculture sector. So how many people, especially coming from sub-Saharan Africa, have that luxury of time and resource? That's my question. Because based on this trial and error, we lose so much time in discovering our passions and even maybe our niche. So my idea was, if we look at evidence-based research, we are now in the future of work argument and conversations online. If we're looking at statistics that are being shared, even by the World Economic Forum, we have reports. I'm saying from a point of knowledge, from a point of research, which jobs are emerging, which occupations are in the future that we can easily absorb ourselves into without having to guess. But there's nothing wrong with going to university. There's nothing wrong with pursuing the degrees. That's not the argument here. And then secondly, I wanted to talk about the fact that with resources, you can be able to gain so much. So you might do a degree, later you do a certificate, later a diploma. All that will not go to waste, that's for sure. But I'm just saying it could be easy if we look at right now, AI, artificial intelligence, has come and even disrupted the banking sector. So then will you tell your younger self to study for banking? Well, we know it's going to be automated in a few years. That's where I'm coming from. And I hope that's clearer now.
Thank you very much. Lynette, we'll not be able to have a lot of time for any more questions, but just to add on what you said, and the lady mentioned about sports and law. Number one, it's because she's done law, and which is fantastic, but also she got the niche. She understood, probably, I need to understand sports and the challenges sportsmen are facing for me to be able to defend them and even help them sign contracts. So we are not saying do not do this. We are asking probably, is there something else that you can add on? I was talking to some young people, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and they said what they're seeing out there when they're going out, they need to be multi-skilled and then specialize. You have different skills, We had a panelist yesterday from SBM Bank and asked a few questions. Are you going out there? Are you talking? Do you even know what your bank can offer you instead of a loan? Probably it's a group within the bank customers. Have you gone out and even asked them, I need a loan, but I need mentorship. Do you have someone who is your customer who is doing these things so that they can mentor me and I can even probably work with them for some time? So go out there. My grandfather was a bit crude, and he said, even if you want to pick a booger, you have to go for it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the audience, and thank you very much for the panelists here. We hope that we're going to have 300 friends on our social media pages from today, because that is where we are meeting. And again, thank you very much, Lynette, Victor, Ambei, and Joyce. Another round of applause for the panelists. I think I give it back to...
The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project, works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development.
Discussion around stereotypes, about culture, and how it is affecting young people in their workplaces. So help me welcome the following: Mr. Benson Motoko, who is a gender expert in Sub-Saharan Africa. Clap for him as he comes. Miss Juliana Babu, CEO, Mary Youth Service. Clap for her. Ms. Diana Sifuna, founder, Diversity with Diana. We have one more slot. So let me preach for half a second. The Bible says something about time and chance happening to all of us. So the person who has been touched by that Bible verse and feels that they want to take this chance to just be part of this very competent panel, step up and sit on that table. Thank you. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. So my name is Waruguru Kiai. I serve as a board director for the Youth Agenda Board. When I'm not doing that, I serve in the youth space back at home, Sinotwa Mashinani, Nyeri County. And while I'm feeling very generous, I also write. So if you have happened upon me as a village girl, that is me. So right to it. Culture says that there are some things that men can do, and there are others that women cannot do. Yesterday, I had a conversation with young people online on Facebook, and they said that, and I asked them, in terms of employment, whom do you think has the added advantage? And the comments were quite interesting. A young man said, young women have the added advantage, and what you do with the information is up to you. Another one said that the young boy child or the man have been left to God and the son because nobody cares about them. So help these young people understand, and we shall begin with Mr. Benson Motoko. Help these young people in this room understand what gender dynamics are, and mostly in the areas of youth employment, and generally, not even youth employment, in the youth space as it is.
Thank you so much for that round of introduction. My name is Benson Motuku, a gender expert in Sub-Saharan Africa. I have implemented programs in different contexts.
Sorry, allow me to cut you short. I have made a very terrible mistake, like that MC who announced the wrong Miss World. Sorry, it's the village in me, it always catches up. So we have one expert in the panel that I did not introduce, my apologies. That is Mr. Professor Freda Mona, who is also a gender expert. Clap for her as she joins us. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for that mistake. You may proceed.
Thank you so much. And that's a great question that we always get when it comes to matters relating gender. And culture is something that has grown through patriarchy, and patriarchy is a system. Now, if you look at this system, we grow knowing that this is how things need to be done, but then later on, these things also affect us in the way we do things. And therefore, we have to look at the levels of socialization. That is the family that we have grown from. We were taught as youth, this is what you are supposed to do as a girl, and this is what you are supposed to do as a boy. And you grew up knowing that this needs to be done that way. Look at the faith-based institutions that we have all attended and grown. This is the way you are supposed to worship and the way you are supposed to do things. The schools we attend and the community that we have grown from. And therefore, if you look at all these institutions, then finally we are transformed into systems that lead to the dynamics that we are talking about. And if you look at, for instance, number one, the culture that we are talking about, it then leads us to thinking in a way that this is how things need to be done. And for us as the youth, we grow knowing that this is how things are supposed to be done. And therefore, it is critical for us to understand that culture and patriarchy is even with people who are educated. It is even affecting people who have even gone to high levels of interactions. And therefore, what do we need to do to ensure that we reduce these dynamics that have affected our youth and also our systems? And one of the key things that I'll talk about is the education itself, both formally and informally. If you look at the statistics and the dropouts, and look at our girls because of teenage pregnancies and being young mothers, if those girls don't get that opportunity to learn, then they will not be able to contribute the same way the boys would be able to contribute. And therefore, that is something that we need to look at, which has affected most of the youth. Then, apart from education, it is good for us to also look at the systems and where we could be able to make decisions. How can we capacitate the youth to also have a voice when it comes to decision-making tables? And therefore, the list is endless, and we'll be able to see on how we would be able to fight some of these dynamics. And I would pause at that point so that we could be able to move to the next speaker, but then I'll come back and be able now to talk about how we need now to ensure that the youth have been able to come into these places and participate, in a way that they feel that they have been felt.
Thank you so much. Moving to Miss Diana Sifuna. Karibu sana. What are some of these gender dynamics that are affecting young people on a day-to-day, on a daily basis, and mostly in the employment sector, that really perhaps prevents them from achieving or even just propelling their dreams in their respective areas?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, and thank you to the organizers of this lovely event. I've been following the sessions that you guys have been having. Were you guys here yesterday? You were here yesterday. I specifically loved the session on youth and in creative economy. Now, I'm glad to be invited here, having been a friend to the organization and respecting my senior Anne Waruguru very much. As a youth advocate, as a female in this space, I'll tell you there's a lot we go through that probably we don't share. I hear the conversations we have in our chama meetings, in our cubicles, in your hostels, maybe in your families with the other females, and we tend to assume that gender means women. That is why the 2/3 gender bill is being discussed as a women's issue. Yet there is going to be a time in certain organizations when the female population will be so much that actually the males will come in and start saying about representation. We want to be there. Why are we not there? We've seen that already happening in organizations like FIDA. When we have a similar question to all the panelists, our answers tend to be the same. They tend to be similar. But when you hear us repeat some things, take it as a point of information, take it as a point of knowledge, and repetition is how we actually all learn, okay? So the dynamics are there. The dynamics are the same. Young people, we suffer a lot when we're being excluded from certain opportunities. People dismiss us on the account of age. They don't think you're qualified enough to sit in a director position. They don't think you're experienced enough to be in certain spaces. When you look at our culture tends to exclude women in certain discussions. Our culture has emasculated men so much that when you see a female in a meeting, you think that either she's there because a favor is being done, she's there because a box has to be ticked, a diversity box has to be ticked, she's there because she knows someone, or she's even there because she's sleeping with someone. You will suffer through these females, and this is what we have gone through. But guess what? We as young people have the opportunity to change the narrative. We have the opportunity to be the change that we want to see. My personal belief is that we don't have to try and change the system or the society. You be the change that you want to see. When you walk to a place, let people assume that this one has just been given a favor. This one is a relative to so-and-so, that is why she has this opportunity. And sorry to speak to women for now, but then I'll also speak for the boy child, I'll speak for the men, because my passion for humanity and my passion for advocacy in gender inclusion is not exclusive to women alone, as well as people living with disabilities. What about them? When you see someone living with a physical disability, why would you think that they're incapacitated and in no way can they be a leader in your organization? Why is it that they are excluded from promotions? It is not until the other day, in 2010, when the new constitution was promulgated, that we actually saw the active inclusion of people living with disabilities. All these things that tend to exclude people, especially me, myself, having been a female, a youth, who has suffered through the system of career and fought to get where I got to. It is the reason why I got to the humanitarian space. It's the reason why I started my podcast called Diversity with Diana. And there, initially, I tended to come off as an angry youth, because every time I would speak about matters, when he's talking about teenage pregnancies, if you look at my podcast, and on that session, I wasn't even smiling. I was very angry. Why was I angry? When I watched the news like you all did, and I saw the numbers of 5,000 or 4,000 they are contesting, is it 3,000, of the teenage mothers in Machakos County, I decided, let me call my own home county, let me talk to the gender officer there and find out, in Bungoma County, How many teenage mothers do we have? Can you imagine it was even much more than what was being contested in the news for Machakos County and the other eastern regions. In Bungoma County alone, from the ages of 10 to 13, who are now not even teenage mothers, if you count the children that are pregnant between the age of 10 to 13, and now you come to 13 to 19, wholesome from January to July, I think I spoke to her in July, there were 5,000 cases. Honestly, you want to tell me that in the society we want to say that there is equality for gender, there is gender equality. How can there be gender equality in a homestead where possibly there are male figures and there are female figures, but they allow the girl child to go through these injustices? I call them injustices. When you find a 13-year-old giving birth to triplets, and I'm not talking about fallacies, you guys, I'm talking about reality, and reality of 2020. That we still have a long way to go. I'm encouraged to even see a panel full of women here. Yes, we are making steps. We are seeing the changes that we need to see. But these conversations need to continue. When you go back to your home counties, in fact, my plea to you guys when we sit here and we talk about gender and all these fancy things, and the previous panel talked to you about employment, you're being encouraged to consider TVET education and skilling and reskilling and whatever. All these things seem so lovely, but let's humanize all these things. When you go back home, you have that brother who is always in the last quarter. And now you've just regarded him as a bottom performer. You don't encourage him. You just see him as hata akipata kazi ya mechanic. Even if he gets a job to be a mechanic, that is good for him. You are not empowering that person. You're actually discriminating against them based on mental ability. When I say I'm a diversity advocate, I talk about age, gender, culture, religious backgrounds, marital status. When you see a single woman who is a certain age, why would you as a society, and guys, I'm saying this to just provoke you, and I'm hoping I'm speaking to young people, to provoke your thought process that if you have ever even judged that single mother with 5 children, just stop it. We as young people have the opportunity to change our mindset. We have to be the change we want to see in society. And I'm glad the panel is talking about gender, but I just felt moved to also talk about all the other areas in society where we like to discriminate against people. And it's very important that we not do that. And especially we as young people, come on, we have to be the change we want to see. So thank you for that. I hope I've said something about gender there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Diana. Moving on to Ms. Juliana Babu, the CEO for Mary Youth Service, and I will try and read what I've just been sent on my SMS. A young person says that internships are one of the most perhaps progressive initiatives in getting them into the job market. And this young person is a male, is a young man actually, but he says that every time he imagines himself as he has in previous experiences, gone through internships in public service, he always has the feeling that he will never level up to the girl child, that he will never be on the same plate, because he says he has seen cases whereby, he feels like the girl will always become first before him. Now, handling one of the most progressive youth service in Kenya, kindly share with us your insights on how perhaps you have ensured gender equity in Meru, and what you would share to this young man and to the very many young people across the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that young man who has decided to, address such a bold concern. My name is Juliana Babu from Meru County. I am the CEO for the Meru Youth Service. Maybe before we close, you might give me a few more minutes to really explain what Meru Service is about and what Meru Youth Service does. But now, addressing that concern, I am thinking that is already a young man who, in his explanation, sort of has put a woman in a box, has already judged a woman for being a woman, saying that he thinks that he cannot compete with a girl child because perhaps he has no favors to offer. Because assumingly he goes to that office and finds that it is a woman who is the boss, will he have the same, I mean, will he has the same concerns? So that is already a young man who has judged a woman and put a woman in a box, because he already thinks that a woman has to give favors to get that job, and he feels like he has nothing to offer. Am I making sense? Because in the first place, he's not supposed to think that he's competing with a girl child in that particular qualification. Because no matter what happens, whether a woman or a man gets that job, you have to be qualified, first of all, for that job. And we are assuming that you don't know who you're going to meet in that office. So in this all gender dynamics, what men have done is create conflict between men and women, you know, and also interfered with culture, the way culture has perceived women to be. Because in the Bible, I mean, when you talk about gender issues, you refer to the Bible a lot. The Bible talks of women being submissive. And it is also very clear in that men should love their wife, but not because they are submitting or not because they are beautiful. It generally talks about men loving their wife. And that is now where a man has to learn how to love that wife the way she is. Whether she chooses to be a housewife, you love her like that. If she chooses to do politics, you love her like that. You must have the ability to empower that woman to be whatever she is, without thinking that when she goes to apply for a position, someone might ask her to give him what she gives you at home. You must trust in the ability of that woman to express her full potential. And what I'm trying to say is that in a population like in this country, where we have more than 50% women, everybody must deploy. Everybody must be given space to exhibit their potential. If we say that it is only men who will go to work, it is almost 100% sure that they are not going to deliver to, sorry for that. They're not going to deliver to 100%. Because already there is a manpower that is left behind. Because our populated is calculated entirely. We calculate children, we calculate women and youth. So it is a wholesome. It is not a group of men who can represent women alone. So everybody must be deployed to service. Everybody has potential. That is why people go to school. And everybody has the ability to deliver for their nation. So my point basically is that women should not be put in a box. Of course, we have gender roles. We get pregnant. We need maternity leaves. We need, you know, sometimes when we are in that session where hormonal issues are there, we have, you know, we need space to deal with those kind of hormonal changes. And every institution should come up with a policy that equalizes the workforce. If a woman needs 9 months to be comfortable in her skin to get a baby, an institution should provide policies that, you know, give a woman that space to get that, you know, because being a mother, giving birth, is just part of the functions that a woman ought to do, you know, among many other things, like being a manager, you know, being a politician. So really my concern is we are at a point in life where we need to even like stop talking about what cultures perceive a woman to be, and starting formulating policies, both in national and county levels, that give women space to naturally be what God created them to be. In other countries, we see women getting more than 1.5 years leave, paid leave, to go and have a baby. Because, again, if a woman doesn't have a baby, then we are not going to have this gathering seated here. So that kind of time should be respected, but it should not be put, you know, like to judge a woman and put her on spot. The fact that women have, let me give you another example as so much can be said about this topic. Men give dowry to marry a woman. Can anybody tell me why? We have other cultures that women rather, marry men in Indian communities. Can anybody tell me why? Therefore, these are just cultures. These are just cultures. Men are not, you're not getting that woman through the dowry process for you to control her, for you to keep her at home and not allow her to go to work. And I think at some point when these conversations of gender continue to get deeper, we should also look into ways of how we, hiyo issue ya dowry inafaa kuangaliwa vizuri. Kwa sababu that is one of the aspects in this country that are putting women to a box. That is one of the things that needs to be looked deeper so that it doesn't look like mama na baba waliuza msichana kwa huyu mwanaume. So this man is going to beat this lady. This man will not allow this woman to go to work and express her potential and, improve. So as this conversation continue to get deeper, those are the kind of things that we look into, because shida ya mama inaanzia kwa nyumba. Hata haiko kwa ofisi, inaanzia hapo kwa nyumba, akianza kusumbuliwa na mzee, anaintimidatiwa. It starts from that point. So when these conversations get to the next level, I'm hoping that we will now start talking in terms of policy on how, we don't have issues that put women down. Kama hiyo ya dawa. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was a very passionate response. And I hope that we shall get more and more deeper in this conversation. To Ms. Trofena Mona, our gender expert, karibu sana. We have a lot of discussions around participation and inclusion. This gathering here today is trying to get the inputs of young people as far as empowerment is concerned in the areas of empowerment. Yesterday, while I was watching the feed, there's a gentleman who said that we talk big about participation and inclusion, but really we don't mean it. Because he felt that every time people meet, when women, we can never really satisfy that, like the answer of inclusion. So what, in your opinion, or what can you say about Kenya in the areas of meaningful participation and inclusion of every Kenyan in the day-to-day running in our political, socio-economic spaces? Is inclusivity and participation real or fallacy? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Frida Mona. I am a founder of a platform for women with disabilities, where we push for inclusion of women with disabilities in all areas of life. I am a researcher and a blogger, and currently I work with VSO as a disability inclusion advisor. And I'm glad to be here today, and first of all, looking at gender. Historically, we have always looked at gender from the perspective of either being male or being female. But as time goes by, we are slowly learning that there's a lot of diversity and intersectionality that affects the name itself, gender. Gender is not just about identity. Gender comes in many forms. We talk about people who belong to the LGBT community. We talk about people who are gender non-conforming. And it's so interesting that persons with disabilities are very well comfortably discussed when gender issues are being discussed, rather than when any other issue is being discussed. So when you talk about participation and inclusivity, we start first of all from the aspect of accessibility. Accessibility in terms of facilities, infrastructure, information, and also accessibility in terms of being allowed to belong. And let's think about a work environment where we have washrooms. I'm not sure whether all of you are familiar with this. You go to the washroom and you find one door has a sign of an image of a lady, another door has an image of a man, and another door has an image of a wheelchair. What does that mean? Have we ever asked ourselves, like, what does that communicate? So it means we have men, women, and then people with disabilities, which in itself is like inclusion from the genesis of it all. Because are people with disabilities genderless? How will we have like one washroom with a sign of a wheelchair for all, both men and women, and also people with disabilities maybe who belong to the LGBT community? So that means that right off, they are excluded from accessing and also using the facilities. That is a facility and the infrastructural exclusion. Talk about a gathering like this, if we didn't have a sign language interpreter, and maybe we have deaf people who are in attendance or even watching live. So that means that if we didn't have such kind of accommodation, this means that there's no inclusivity and participation. Talk about people who are blind, and we have flyers and all information that are just written in words without like a braille material. That means that they are not included. So I can say in Kenya, we are very much included on paper. The policies in Kenya, the law, the constitution, and all other acts are very inclusive, perfectly inclusive. But now when it comes to practicing and implementing, exclusivity is very perfectly seen. Because how can you talk about 5% inclusion of persons with disabilities? How can you talk about both women and men being allowed to apply for a certain role, and then you go to an organization and you find there are no washrooms for female, there are no washrooms for male, or no, there are no facilities for like mobility assistance for persons with disabilities. So it means that we still have a long way to go when it comes to inclusivity and participation. But I'm glad because there's a lot of change when it comes to how people access information and how people participate. Because nowadays we have a lot of participation through social media, which happens to be a very good platform for most people, and people who maybe are not in a position to participate physically. And also we talk about in workplaces, we talk about gender segregation, where you find that certain roles are exclusively meant for men, and others are exclusively meant for women. And now here you are a woman, or you are a person who belongs to the LGBT community. You go to apply for a job, and you are even afraid of sharing your real identity, because definitely you will be discriminated. The society is socialized to believe that gender only applies to either being a man or a woman. So first of all, being a person from the LGBT community puts you at a risk of not being included to participate, which forces people to create their own spaces. Like you find, okay, people with disabilities create their own spaces so that they're able to feel like they can participate. People who belong to the LGBT community create their own spaces so that they can participate. Why can't we just participate from a common platform? Why do we have to participate from our different corners? So I can say, as much as yes, we have made some progress as compared to where we were in the year 2003, but we still have a long way to go.
Just to follow up on that, and going back to social media, you have raised a very pertinent issues on the gender construction, on our social constructions of what gender is. And I have seen, and I think all of us have seen discussions online, where I would post a picture. I'm not the prettiest of them all, I will have to say that. But I have seen conversations where somebody posts a picture, and I run and say, I have an ask. No, quote, I have a ask. Is that person, is that person ladies or gentlemen? And it is so common now, online, where we tend to have these mirrors and tend to have these lenses under which we perceive people who are posting and minding their businesses online. So now, how do we create this kind of, create a social awareness that gender is actually more than just what we have been told about like being male or female. Because I read an article about a very prominent Kenyan sports person who has made this country proud in so many ways. But when the conversation came about who that person really is in terms of appearance, a majority of us forgot about the contribution of that person. And then we went back to asking whether, these ladies and gentlemen, kind of tired. So what would you say to the Kenyan who is watching this feed and the young people in this room about our social construction and our conversations, both online and physically, as far as gender is concerned?
Well, what I can say about that is that we as young people, let's have that basic assumption that we have gone to school, either to a certain level where we have some understanding, basic understanding, that life itself is very dynamic. Nothing is static. And for a long time, very many people have been trapped in bodies or identities that they feel like it's not them and it's not their real identity. And one thing about gender that I would really wish to say from my opinion is that gender is not supposed to be anything that is defined by anyone. Because when you look at gender, the way gender is defined, we have the World Health Organization definition of gender, and we have other definitions of gender. But the bottom line remains, that is what the World Health Organization says about gender. But who are you as an individual? So one thing that we need to do as young people is to respect people's identities and just to respect people for who they are. Because gender is not something that is imposed on me to identify as either a woman or a man. Gender is something that I feel comfortable with to identify myself. So give people that space and freedom to identify themselves the way they feel comfortable. That is why in so many other spaces that are very gender sensitive, when you go there, you find when people are maybe registering in, people are always asked how we would like to be identified. Whether I would like to be identified as a she, a he, or a they. Because I don't have to be a she, I don't have to be a he, I can be a they, which means maybe I'm not gender conforming, or maybe I'm gay, I'm lesbian, I'm intersex, I'm bisexual, I'm transgender. So the thing that young people should do is to preach the gospel of letting people be comfortable to be who they are and create that awareness. Because if someone came to you and they introduced themselves, my name is Frida, I'm a lesbian. My name is Frida, I'm a woman. My name is Frida, I'm a man. And then maybe you look at the person and automatically you see the way this person is appearing, she or he is supposed to be either a man or a female. But why are they identifying themselves as a gay, a lesbian, or a gender non-conforming? Because what a person is belongs to them, and it's always upon them to dictate how they want to be. And that is the freedom that we need to give people, that maybe the society hasn't given people. We are still stuck in what culture says about who you should be. You either have to be a woman or a man. But times have changed when people are supposed to be who they feel comfortable being.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to our very able panelists. Madam, introduce yourself, what you're doing and the space that you are in, and what you think would be the strategies that young people can deploy in dealing with these gender dynamics.
Thank you so much. My name is Mwende. I'm a youth advocate, a journalist, and a communication consultant, currently in the job industry. So the matter of gender in youth employment is a very sensitive topic, because everywhere you go to, or in places where maybe I have been an intern before, you find that as a communication consultant, when I'm talking about something to do with technical expertise, many men will prefer listening to the men instead of the lady in turn speaking on their behalf. So it all narrows down to our society. Our society is full of stereotypes. Just as my favorite
author Chimamanda Ngozi says that gender, what am I saying? Yeah, okay. When people ask who you are, what gender are you, then this is no longer an equal society. And so in the job market and in the employment field, whenever you are asked, what gender are you? So are you going to present this matter? Simply because you're a girl, they say you're going to talk about the communication and the PR, but you're not going to talk about the engineering, you're not going to talk about the cameras, you're not going to talk about the tripod stand. That means that we are coming from a stereotypical society. And it's until all of us change our notion, our employees, people in those sectors, it's until they change their perspectives, that is when our youths are going to be able to rise, especially the females. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To Benson. From what you're doing currently or in the space that you serve, what do you think we can do as stakeholders, both in the private and the public sector, to ensure that we are working in an equal space that just recognizes and does away with all these dynamics?
Thank you for that question in regards to what we'll be able to do in the different spaces. And I would categorize this in 3 areas where we have the private, we have the NGO, and we also have the government. And looking at all this, it's looking at what is it that we are lacking from our youth. And we always do baseline studies in all what we conduct, but we forget on conducting agenda and power analysis. Agenda and power analysis would be able to give us the needs, the priorities, and the opportunities that the youth would be able to speak out. The other thing that we normally do is we don't involve them in the levels of participation, and we think on behalf of the youth. We go and sit down and say the youth need this and that, but at the end of the day, the youth would like to move in other directions. And therefore, we end up customizing programs that are not custom fit to what they need to do. And therefore, according to me, for us to see the youth going to the levels that they have to, one thing that we need to do is to transform their capacity. Let them understand what they need to do, because that would guide them in even coming to the decision-making platforms. We need to reflect with the youth. And because I heard a lot about mentorship, what is this mentorship? When you say that we have a kitty and we have this amount for the youth, are we really teaching them about financial literacy for them to understand what it entails to come up with a budget? Are we teaching them the livelihood skills that they would be able to sustain? Most of us were not taught on how to save. When you are telling a youth to save, what are you telling them? You need to show them practically what is saving. If we talk about income generating activities, are we leading by example, or we are just telling them, come and join this and do this and that? We need to show them how to do income generating activities. And that means that we are reflecting with the youth. We need to plan for action with them. You know, you don't bring the money and give them the opportunities and let them plan for themselves. Plan with them and let them feel part parcel of this. Because mentorship is working with a person. Mentorship is not giving and living. It's about working with this person and helping them grow. Let them implement the plans as you monitor, and then evaluate with them. Why are you evaluating with the youth? Let them understand the whole process. Don't give them the net, don't give them the bread or the fish. Give them the net and show them the skills on how to be able to go and fish. Why am I putting all this? Because they will understand the challenges. Most of our youths have not really been given that space to really burn their fingers. And that is where you get to understand about the challenges. We need to explore. Within this space, they will be able to explore and they will know themselves. This is what I can do. This is what I can be able to move on with. And there is learning in that. You need to learn as you work with a person. And then finally, the reflection also makes a person understand, I didn't save in this business, and after I lost everything, now I can be able to start this because of reason A, B, C, and D. And then looking at all that holistically, it is a matter of coming up with now the solutions that are tailored to the youth. And one of it is the peer-to-peer model. Don't think that you will let the youth be individuals, because most of the time they're in the social network, they're in the different platforms. Let us have peer-to-peer models for the youth to come up together. We need to build their agency. Agency means the self-esteem. They have gone through a lot of issues, SRH issues, sexual and reproductive health issues. They don't even understand themselves, and yet you are not building that agency. So we need to build that agency for our young ones and let them explore. We need to change the relations. How do we relate with them? If you go to a meeting and the youth run away and they don't want to talk to you, ask yourself so many questions. You are not relating with them and they are not feeling that they need to really be with you. We need also to transform the structures and the systems and the patriarchal systems. And this is one of the key areas that we have to think on how to work around. We have grown from systems that were telling us, and I remember the panelists who are here talked about how they chose courses that were not helpful to them. It is not them who chose the courses. These courses mostly were dictated by parents. Or we ourselves grew knowing that what my father did or my mother did is what is good for me, but it was not good for the market. So that is something that we need to transform so that they can be able to choose and grow towards the right lineages. And wrapping up that, I'll wrap up with Proverbs 22:6. What does it say? Train up your child in the way he should go or she should go, and when he or she is old, they will not depart from it. And that is all what we need, mentorship and working with the youth.
Thank you very much. How can we take advantage of the creative economy in advancing gender equality?
Thank you for that question. What was it? It was, how can we
take advantage of the creative economy in advancing gender equality?
Okay. I'll pick up from what the session that you had yesterday, and you guys said you were here yesterday, Cindio. Were you all here yesterday? From the session with Sam Mumo, there was Mbukimburu and moderator. The creative economy, I don't know where to start with this. I get excited. We are in a world where we don't have to have an encyclopedia to learn about things. You just get your tablet, you Google something, and instantly you know how to do something. How many of us are taking advantage of the digital revolution, the fourth industrialization? You are. Perfect. How many of us are doing that? How many of us Google something every day? Guys, it should be everybody, the young people, everyone. We should all be having our hands up there. Why I say this is because the creative economy is massive. When I left employment in March, and I was in between transition and I didn't know what to do, and I was thinking of doing something else, and things are happening all over the place, I Googled online, what can I do with the knowledge that I have? Friends. There's a whole list of things that we can do, and none of them is anything that you can do singly. You mustn't only think that because you're a trained marketer, then you need to look for a marketing and sales job, and that's it. You can be a part-time marketer, you can invest in a small kiosk, you can be a blogger online, you can have many, many things, and that's how I came up with the Diversity with Diana podcast. I Googled in Kenya, there's no podcast talking about diversity specifically in Kenya. And while at that, I had a lot of people coming back to me to ask me, why are you talking about diversity? You just want to see women in certain spaces. You want to see youth in certain spaces. They didn't understand the whole concept of inclusion in diversity. They didn't understand the concept of meritocracy. I know one speaker here alluded to meritocracy. When we say that women are being included in space or the creative economy, we're not talking about having just equality of the different representation of genders and whatnot. We're actually talking about having merit-based appointments, merit-based inclusion. Yeah? So the creative economy is big. You can be whatever you want to do. Even in farming, I remember when I worked as a journalist, we had an innovator in Kenya, and he was Indian, who used to work with a research firm that I can't remember, but I remember that he came up with a tool that could be put inside the bell that is hung around the cows, and that tool that was inside could be able to spot whether the cow has a zoonotic disease. A zoonotic disease is one that can be transmitted from an animal to a human being. So basically, you and your cow become sick at the same time. And that tool was actually an innovation, and I think he's in the process of patenting it. It's taken quite a while. And using technology, you're not there with the cow to test it every day. He has invented a tool that is inside the bell of a cow. And if you're how do they call them? You don't have many cows. You only have that one cow that probably you're using it to get milk from it. And that's the kind of farming, or that's the kind of business you're doing. Then you would actually want to know whether your cow is sick so that you don't transmit diseases from your cow to your children. Some people have milk warm based on their culture and other preferences. They don't even boil the milk. So such kind of innovation and creativity awareness, when I spoke to that Indian doctor, and he's also a researcher, he actually told me, I checked online and I wondered. I actually thought I thought I'm crazy. I thought I've just thought about something that someone else in the world had thought about it. But guess what? Nobody in the world had thought about it. He spent 5 years trying to find out whether someone has this invention before. And now he's in the process of patenting it. And there's so many possibilities under the sun. When I tell you that Google and such optimization tools that are digitally enabled are so good. When I started the Diversity with Diana podcast platform, again, I'll talk about it because that's where I'm at right now. I didn't know so much about diversity in depth. In fact, it is only now that I can say I'm researching about diversity. And again, being someone who loves to go back home to see how I can improve either the knowledge back home or improve the region, I decided to do my research on workforce diversity practices in Bungoma County government. I tell you guys, it is interesting. They may not understand it as workforce diversity. In fact, when I say diversity, just understand diversity as being a word that means differences. It means differences. The way we have these flowers and, some of them are yellow, some of them are red, and some of them are white. That is diverse. That is the differences. So when you think about diversity in the workforce, for example, Bungoma County, and I interrogated them, how many of you are natively from this place? How many of you are originated from Bungoma County? How many of you have, how many of you are married in the region? How many of you speak the language of the region, of the residents in Bungoma County? There's so much knowledge out there. People know these things. People know what is right. The county officers know what is right when they are doing their recruitment. They know that they must have youth representation. They know that they must have gender inclusion. They know that they must not discriminate anyone based on their religious background or ethnic background. But what stops people from moving forward? It's because of, I think, what he alluded to earlier. These are things that are enshrined in us. We grew up knowing that, women's place is in the kitchen. So what happens to you as that young, A student who has gotten a job, and you go to the office and your senior boss is who? Is a female. You don't even know how to address her. You start looking down, you start thinking, I need to look for another job. Even this lady, I don't know how she is. And guys, guess what? Let me tell you, be compassionate as people, respectful and compassionate to every single person who even looks remotely different from you. Be compassionate towards everybody and respect everyone by the account of them being human beings. That human dignity element is not reserved for your senior people or the people from your family. It is reserved for every single living being around you. Be very respectful. That is how some of us are excluded in places. I remember one time getting so worked up about what the president had said on national television. He said, he made a very funny statement about young people and the way we have no capacity to manage public resources. And when I had a connection there with someone working in the State House, and I asked him, why is your senior talking like this about young people? Does he not have children? Does he not have kids of his own? And I was told that, this is what Mzee did. He gave an opportunity to a young man who was supposed to sit in a certain board in one of these parastatals, who went there and using his smart ways, the finance committee, he squandered a lot of money and whatnot. So that person is the reason why we are going to be judged as a whole group. No. Some of us will say no. Some of us will say, try us. Try us, try us and give us an opportunity and see if we'll do what those other people did. You see, we have to be the change that we want to see. We have to walk the talk. We can't be talking about one thing and then doing another thing. You can't be here as educated folks, listening to all these lovely conversations, having been given access to come and pick on our brains on certain matters. And I hope the Q&A session will also be, engaging, but engaging on a knowledge-based point of inquiry, not any other point of inquiry. Focus, people. We do not have time to waste. This world is so beautiful. We need to respect each other, have dignity for every single human being, no matter whether they're different from you or not different from you. The more you learn doesn't mean that you despise anyone who knows less than you do. They may have wisdom and knowledge that you may not know. I just keep giving examples because I think growing up, we thought that all the knowledge that was needed would need to get it from the 844 system, from academia or from school. No. Learning does not stop when you get that degree or that master's and you go to the workplace. Learning is continuous. It is a continuous process. And I'm not in the habit of quoting other people. I hope to be quoted myself. But I know that somebody who was quotable said that they're 81 years old and they're still learning. So learning never stops. Yeah? So the final example I want to give about just being open-minded, thinking about respecting other people on the account of human dignity, but on the account of also inclusion and meaningful engagement from every single person that you meet. There was a hotel in Western Province that had an issue with bats. This is a young Kenyan lady who is an entrepreneur. She has decided to put up a hotel back in the village, and she wants to do short stay facilities for guests coming in and out. And the bats kept coming into her place all the time. The bats, the bats? Yeah, they used to come. So she wondered, how do I deal with this? She did research. She did so many things. She queried Google, whatnot. She could not find a solution. Then this one time, her car broke down. And she did not have money to spend in taking a taxi. So she decided, let me take a boda and then go to town to handle my business. While she was on that boda, she just happened to mention that my place is really being disturbed by bats. Can you imagine the boda rider told him, let me come and see what it is. He came back with a can of, mafuta kerosene. He came back with kerosene and put it in certain spots on that lady's hotel. And from that day, she never ever had the issue of bats. Can you imagine how many visitors she lost because she had a bats issue in her place and nobody could figure out how to deal with them? So sometimes the knowledge you so seek, that wisdom you so seek, might be with that cleaning lady that cleans your house, and you tupia her 200 shillings, shika pesa yako, umenioshea manguo. Sometimes just engage them in conversation. You'll be surprised where you get knowledge and wisdom. Thank you.
As we wind up, I'm being reminded we are out of time, but to Ms. Juliana, kindly share with us some of the successes that you have had in while dealing with young people.
Thank you so much for that. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I would love to, just say something brief about the Mary Youth Service. Upon his election, Governor Gitau in 2017, he prioritized the issues of the youth. So he brought a group of young people together and told them to form a policy, do an assessment on the ground on what might be needed to really handle the issues of the youth. So a group of young men were formed, and they did a bill, took it to the county assembly, and the county assembly approved it. That is why I am here today with a group of people, Eric Kimaita there, and Rachel. Rachel, just stand up with the uniform so that they can see the uniform. That is the Mary Youth Service uniform. So an act was passed and it established a board, the Mary Youth Service Board, with now a CEO, myself, and a group of secretariats, administrators, accountants, procurement, who are all young people. Our chairman of the board, Dr. Karau, is less than 35 years old. So we have an act now that establishes a process of training and bringing young people on board. We recruit young people who never go to school. Uko mashinani kabisa. Our class 8, class 4, class 6. And then we take them through a mindset training. We bring them in a camp, mindset training, a bit of paramilitary, just to instill some discipline. That is why you see the uniform. That is a uniform that has been discussed in the National Youth Service, and it was passed in one of the committees. And then we take them to vocational training. I love the presentation. We take them to vocational training. We choreograph a program for them, or rather a curriculum, according to need. Because you realize it would be a bit tricky to take someone who has never finished class 8 or Form 4 through a normal process of acquiring a skill. So we choreograph a course and then give them an opportunity to choose according to what someone feels they can do. That feeling in your mind that tells you you can meet, you can do well, you can do something, but you need someone really to take you through the practicals of that process. So we take them through that process. We admit them in the 2018-2020, we recruited 1,000 youths, took them through the mind change, and then admitted 600 of them to the Meru National Youth Polytechnic. We choreographed a program for them, a crash program for 6 months, and they were certified and they were given the certificate for meter. I think and then we gave the certificate for meter. We kept the database. Some of those who we got employment opportunities like welding. Welding is a space in the market that you cannot even imagine as a lot of money. We were having a conversation with the beautiful lady, Margaret, that Pipeline put in the Gazette 10 people, one success story of training 10 welders. Imagine a whole, such a big corporate organization. When they trained the 10 welders, it was a success for them because those guys are here. They were paid more than, I think, $6,000. And they were involved in the issue of, what is it called? The trade, the SGR, sorry. So really we tap into employment skills that are employable, and the skills that have market. So when you go to Meru, you find a group of young men and women, wamefungua vinyozi, wamefungua saloon, they are working with their certificates, going to ask for jobs. They are not idle. Because we realize as we continue with this narrative, someone has to wake up and do something about it. So through the Meru Youth Service, every financial year, our money is budgeted in the county assembly, and we partner with the UNDP, UN Habitat, MasterCard, the KCB Foundation. We have a set of programs that we do to empower young people, and I want to take special, and also appreciate Kevin Keyo, who was also consulting during when the UN Habitat were coming to verify the act so that they could sponsor some of our students to the Meru Youth Polytechnic, and they did. So we are also in the green market, just to wrap it up because of time. We're in the green market, we are doing youth in agriculture. We budgeted some money to have youth on board together with the KCB Foundation to do the hydroponic farming, the kind of farming that they don't use sun, they use manure. So we are going to set at least 50 greenhouses in another farm that we have identified. We bring youth on board and partner them with our partners that the governor, through the Ministry of Agriculture, is trying to partner us with investors. We are also doing mentorship programs. We want to bring youth in Meru County on board on a round table with governors and leaders and investors and people who have made it in the industry markets in Meru County to share with the youth and just see if organizations can give young people seed capital. Because the county governments have made it very, very convenient for people to do business.
But as young people, we've sat down and wondered, how are these people giving back to the community and to the young people? So we want to bring people who've done well in business on a round table with the young people. If they cannot employ them, they come up with mechanisms on how to give them seed capital. If they cannot afford that, they come up with ways on how they can train these people on what they do. So through that, we are doing a special intake for the street children that we're going to invite you for the person. We're recruiting 100 street children and partnering with painting companies in Meru County. So we are rehabilitating them for at least 2 months and taking them through a certified training on painting for 2 months. And we are going to employ them for 30 days on a wage of 400 shillings per day so that they just settle in and, get equipped to the market, and then we are going to release them. We have a number of projects lined up for the Meru Youth Service. And I want to appreciate the writer for taking the bold step. Because through policies, the government are able to set allocations for money. You realize that the agenda of the youth has been scattered all over the place. Even when you read the fourth schedule that categorizes the functions of the devolved actions, you realize that the youth issue is not clear. It is all over the place. And until people sit down and do clear policies, because even the National Youth Service is through a policy document that still is not clear. Elections have not been done. The ways of funds, it is through an executive order from the president that borrows most of its regulations from the Public Finance Management Act. That has a lot of discrepancies. If you read it through, you cannot understand. You know that is why monies from the national government to youth enterprise fund is not well taken care of. So people have to sit down, write policies that empower these young people. You take it as a deliberate action to do a policy that follows through how then that policy gets resources, the resources that goes back then to the young people. So in a nutshell, that is what Meru Youth Government is all about, and we are also very happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. In less than a minute, how do young people, because now you are addressing young people of Kenya, how do you want them to show up in your workplaces and in any other public sector? How do they carry themselves, and what attitudes do they carry in the workspace?
I'm going to talk about how young people are supposed to carry themselves, especially on social media. I'm going to talk to the young men, all the young men in this building. Whenever a young lady tries rising ranks in their workplaces or even in the political field, you find young men insulting these ladies and saying, wewe enda ukaoe, ama nenda ukazae utatulia. Whenever we are critiquing these ladies, let us not use their agenda to victimize them. Let us critique them in any other logical way, but not using the agenda. Yeah, that is my final remark.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Ms. Robosa, Mona. Your vision for Kenya in matters of inclusion, gender and inclusion.
Well, I see Kenya from a very positive perspective. Okay, well, I look at Kenya from a very positive perspective, because looking at where we were 10 years ago and where we are now, we've made a lot of steps. We've made a lot of progress. So what I would say is that let's keep doing the good things that you are doing, and let's keep engaging, and let's normalize diversity. We all can't be the same.
All right, thank you so much. Our panel was quite insightful. Really, really insightful. I will invite very good questions to be talking about for the next session. I see a hand in the corner, and then way back. Thank you. Pass to take those questions. And on this side, yes, Ray, I see you with the orange. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Sabira Chundu. I just have I just have like 2 questions or one. So the first thing, my dear sister Juliana, you have talked about the dowries. So I wanted to talk a little bit of dowries. That is, dowries is just something like a token of appreciation to the parents. It's not like when you get married, the parents are being paid or you are being, but nobody can ever vote a human being. It's a token of appreciation. It's vice versa in Indian, because in Africa, there's no way a guy will move in with his in-laws, never. But in India, a guy can move in into the girl's family. That's the reason why ladies pay dowries. And the other thing is, in Kenya or in Africa, we have so many organizations or so many NGOs talking about girl child. It's not bad. Even in the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 4 is talking about women rights. Women rights everywhere. This is 21st centuries anyway. We are not supposed to be talking about gender. We're supposed to be talking about gender diversity. You know, I don't blame our brothers, thinking like whenever we mention something to do with genders, they tend to think of daughters of Eve instead of all of us. So my question is one, yeah? There's something we are not including in this gender equality. Let's take an example of a guy who is working at Mujengo and the wife is doing kuoshanguo, you know. So at the end of the day, this guy will pay the rent, do everything, and this lady is also earning. If we're talking about gender equality, let it be equality even in the house 50-50. It should be like that, yeah. Number 2 is, the other thing is about submissive. Ms. Juliana, you have talked about women being submissive. So my question is, do you think the women of today are submissive to their husband? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lydia Midimo, and my concern is, I really appreciate the fact that we are talking about the gender issue. And my concern is we have really empowered the girl child, which is a good thing, you know. And the problem is that no one is really teaching the boy child on how to deal with this empowered girl child, you know. And it's really going to be a problem because long are the days that, you know, men of today or men of the back days expected akiongea mwanamke anaitika. But today, because the woman is so much empowered, it is not the same case. So who is teaching the boy child on how to deal with this empowered woman, you know? And what are the initiatives that have been done to teach this boy child on how to deal with this woman who is getting more salary than he is getting? I mean, such kind of issues. We really need to see how we can address that so that it's not going to be a problem in the future. Another concern, now this is on the girl child, as far as the women is concerned, most of us ladies are in the age of giving birth, you know, the youth, between 18 to 35. And I'm really finding it a challenge at times when you're pregnant and you're going to apply for an opportunity. Most of the time when they see you're pregnant, they will discriminate you based on your status. So how do we address this? And even most companies, like even pregnant ladies, don't have supportive initiatives that can really support this woman with breastfeeding and what have you. How do we address these issues to the private sectors out here? Because of course we have been told that it's illegal for someone to discriminate you based on your pregnancy status. Most companies are not doing that as much as it is it has been passed that no one should discriminate you based on that. So how do we address that? Thank you.
Last one.
My name is Joel. My question to the panel is, I've heard from the beginning, you talking about gender issues, and from the majority of the panelists, I've heard about women issues. I've not heard about men issues. So I would like at least to have a view of what you guys think about men's issues. Thank you.
Thank you. So can I go ahead? In terms of the questions, and those are great concerns. And I would start by laying out the foundations. One, let us all differentiate between equity, equality, and inequality. Now, equity is about fairness. Equality is about access to opportunities, rights, and privileges for us all. And then inequalities lead to discrimination. What we are trying to say here is, in terms of matters concerning gender, let us look at where the inequalities are. If we go to positions at the board level, how many men do we have and how many women do we have? And how can we ensure that also women participate? If you go to the political spheres and even at the local level, how can we ensure that all participate without any discrimination? And if you look at all this, it is where I talked about the gender analysis that looks at the productive, reproductive, and the community roles. Where are men and where are women? And how can we sit together as a team and plan towards development? And a clear example that I am going to talk about is when it comes to economic empowerment. If you are empowering women and giving them money to start businesses, and you are not involving men, chances are they are not going to enjoy the profits from those businesses. And these are mistakes that we have done before. And what we are trying to say here towards gender equality, let us involve men, women, boys, and girls in all our planning. And that would help in terms of having sustainable development. And then we will not have high chances of having gender-based violence and discriminatory practices. So what we were talking here is, we are not saying that let us leave the man or the boy. We are planning and ensuring that the boy and the man is in the space, and let them also support the efforts that are required to ensure that we move towards gender equality.
programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project, works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project, works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project, works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages a one-stop national skills development policy operationalized through a National Skills Development Council to develop the skills diversity across all sectors of the economy. At the county level, the project builds the capacity of mastercraft persons in the Juakali sector to offer quality apprenticeship training to vulnerable and marginalized youth. To enhance intra-county skills development programming and linkages from county to national programming, the project works in Kilifi, Kitui and Busia counties through multi-stakeholder county workplace-based training coordination committees, CWBTCCs. The ILO, through the better utilization of skills through quality apprenticeships, BUSY project, works with social partners and stakeholders to institutionalize workplace-based training in Kenya. At the national level, the project envisages